something I've struggled with a lot is Operation Paperclip. And you knew Werner von Braun.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it wasn't for Walt Disney and Werner von Braun, we may not have been able to go to the moon. It was Man in Space that Walt Disney did with Werner von Braun that first lit the imagination of, yeah, we can put a man in space. And he had a huge part of it. But as I read about Werner von Braun, and I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe. There are some that say he absolutely had to have known what was going on in his own camp when he was over in Germany. You knew him personally, so let me separate you first from what you personally know about him, and just say, because we brought hundreds of scientists over here, medical professionals. Did we do the right thing after World War I by saying their knowledge beats the character or what they were doing for that knowledge?
Well, you mean World War II?
I'm sorry, yeah, World War II, yeah. Sorry.
Those, as I can see, they had a job. They were knowledgeable. All of the scientists that worked on the V2 and the German rocket program, and I think they said, "You're going to work on this program whether you like it or not," and that was just the way Germany, these people were commanded. And so I think when the war was winding down and von Braun was convinced he didn't want to go to Russia because he saw
what they were like.
So he knew that the U.S. was a better choice. And they came to U.S. and the Army put them to work in the Missile Command. And I think their allegiance to the U.S. was always good, and they changed over, and they were very the ones I met of his upper echelon, Kurt Debus and Struhol and the others at Marshall that worked for von Braun were outstanding citizens, and they loved America, and they loved the space program, and they wanted to commit to once NASA was formed, to the peaceful exploration of space. Prior to that, they were working for the Army Missile Command, but in providing us expertise, because those missiles were being developed anyway, and so why not take advantage of the knowledge they had?
What did you do with? How did you know him? I mean,
Stu Rusa, in the astronaut office when we first got there, everybody was assigned sort of an additional duty. You monitor the spacecraft development. You monitor the lunar module development. You monitor the Saturns. So Stu Rusa and I got put on that was our job, and was to go and monitor the development of the Saturn rocket and then report back to the astronaut office. And so monthly, we would fly to Huntsville, Alabama at the Marshall Space Flight Center and attend Werner von Braun's monthly management meetings.
Wow.
And we just sit there, and we didn't have any input into it, but he welcomed us in, and we became friends, and I was very impressed with his management ability and his insight into knowledge of the problems. And they did a tremendous job with the Saturn V. We never had a failure in a Saturn. Not a catastrophic failure. We maybe lost an engine. I think only one engine was lost in the Saturn V.
And is that because of Werner von Braun and his team?
Yeah, and his team. And so they developed this massive rocket that was until the Space Launch System, SLS, is about to launch. It's more powerful than the Saturn, but I mean, it was a tremendous machine, and Vern Braun was behind it, and his team, and they did a fantastic job not only to monitor the design and the changes, but also to launch it. Kurt Debus at Kennedy Space Center was one of Von Braun's original team, and they were responsible for the launches, and did a fantastic job.
Hello, guys. David Vose here. What a beautiful day! Summer's back. I mean, not kidding you. It's like summer. Literally, I saw flies waking up. They're like, oh, is it spring? You know, and bees are flying around. It's so hot. It's like 62 or 3 or 4 degrees. It's mid 60s. Literally, it was like 30s yesterday. So it's crazy, and I love it. It's beautiful, and kitties out running around in the garden, and dogs are out having fun, and I am just so excited, and I got some information for you today. Guys, this may be the most important information that you could even imagine, and yet how many people will watch this? I might barely get 1,000 people. And will any of you like go, what? You know, send it to somebody who's got some way to do something or say something? Guys, you're going to it's going to blow your mind what I'm about to share with you. I have got the basic history in a way that I put it together that is the best I could do to get it done in maybe an hour and a half or whatever this video is going to be. Because I got a lot of information. I mean, every line of what we're about to show you is information that the world needs to know. And it's all put together to give you the timeline and the reasons and the whys and what's really going on with our government, who's really in charge, who Donald Trump is. By the end of the video, I show you the truth about Donald J. Trump and what he's doing and what the program is and this Apollo mission and the Atlas IA3 Atlas thing and all the stuff that's going on, alien disclosure, and MK Ultra mind control, which is a religion, propaganda, deception that is our government. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to take you right to the information. Take a look. When did Germany start the concept of operations or intelligence operations and project and programs? Germany's formal intelligence operations as a modern, distinct concept began with the establishment of dedicated military intelligence departments in the late 19th and the early 20th centuries, most notably the Imperial German Army's Abteilung 3B in 1889 and the Imperial German Navy's Nachrichten Abteilung in 1901. Imperial Germany, 1889, the domestic counterintelligence branch of the Imperial German Army, known as Section 3B, was formed as a section in the Prussian General Staff, later upgraded to a department. 1901, the German Imperial Navy established its own intelligence department. In 1912, this is right up before 1914 when World War I began. So just before World War I, Germany establishes an intelligence department. 1912, German signals intelligence began with experimental efforts to monitor British naval radio frequencies. World War I, Colonel Walter Nicolai directed the Army's signal intelligence development, creating the basic structure for intercepting wireless signals. Nazi Germany, 1930s, 1945. 1945 is when the Nazis ended this. 1931, the Sicherheitsdienst, the SD, the intelligence service of the Nazi Party, was formed. In 1931, the Gestapo, or the secret state police, was established in Prussia by Hermann Göring and quickly became an instrument of the Nazi regime. 1934, control of the Gestapo was transferred to Heinrich Himmler, who also led the SS and the SD, consolidating much of the intelligence apparatus. 1939, the various security intelligence agencies were centralized under the Reich Security Main Office, intensifying coordinating intelligence programs and projects for both domestic and foreign operations. Post-World War II and modern Germany, 1946, the Gillen Organization, a covert intelligence force led by Major General Reinhard Gillan, was created with U.S. support to conduct operations against the Soviet Union. So now Germany is working in collusion with the United States. This is right after 1945. So everything up to 1945 was just Germany and their operations, projects, and programs. Intelligence. 1946, they are cooperating. 1956, the Gillen Organization was transitioned into the official foreign intelligence agency of the West German government, the BND, which still operates today. Can you give a list in order of all operation projects, programs in the USA since it began after World War II? The United States has engaged in numerous military and intelligence operations, projects, and programs since World War II. A comprehensive, ordered list of all such activities would be extensive, classified, impossible to produce in its entirety. Impossible, there's so many. The list below highlights some of the most significant publicly known operations and programs chronologically starting immediately after World War II. Cold War era. 1947 National Security Act of 1947 established a Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. Okay, that's right after World War II. There was no CIA before that. And the National Security Council, formalizing the modern U.S. intelligence community. Formalized. 1948, 1949, Berlin Airlift, Operation Vittles, U.S. and British forces supplied West Berlin by air after the Soviets blockaded the city. You'll see why it's an operation between the United States and Britain, because the British actually are the ones who created the CIA here in America. It was part of their operation. And Aleister Crowley, we'll get into here in a little bit, was a British intelligence. And most people believe he was a double agent. And I believe he was a triple agent, because he actually went to Germany as an agent. And some believe that he had collusion with Hitler, that it was a project. It was a program that was something that the Germans were doing. And then the British started doing it and set up their intelligence operations here in America as OC, which were all Jewish. The British never ran anything, neither did the United States. But it was always completely, totally run by Jewish or individuals that were needed by the Jews that ran the British intelligence and created the CIA, as well as many other things like Hollywood, music, Satanism, Jehovah's Witnesses. All of these kinds of things were covert programs, operations, and projects. Even the news agencies like Fox News, CNN, is part of a Mockingbird project, all created from Project Paperclip, which brought these influential Jewish people here. And the space agency is a major part of the great program operation, which is under the project of MK Ultra mind control, as we will see. LSD, the hippie movement, Jim Jones, Jehovah's Witnesses, all of it. The Mormons were created by Albert Pike and Brigham Young, Illuminati. They run all the government in the West and the FBI. And all of them are part of this Jewish program and operation to control each and every government through intelligence agencies and through mind control by means of religion, propaganda, such as Hollywood, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, pamphlet organization and projects, through mega churches on every corner run by Steins like Joel Olstein or Epstein or Weinstein that ran the movie industry, or Polanski, who was involved with Charles Manson, and Elon Musk's mother was the madame of the girls that Charlie was with. And it was a bloody occult connection. All of it is a satanic plot that has taken over the world. And I'm going to show you this here today. And if this information gets taken down, guys, y'all need to say something. You need to do something. Because this is very important information that people need to know. So if it gets taken down, you know why. So, 1948 Berlin airlift. 1948 Marshall Plan, European Recovery Program, a non-military aid program to rebuild post-war Europe. 1949 to 1950 Operation Magic Carpet, a secret airlift that brought almost 50,000 Yemeni Jews from Aden to the new state of Israel. You see what the project's about now? This whole intelligence is to have world control, mind control, and bring the Jews back to the land of their homeland, Palestine, which is not the original area where the Jewish temple was built, which was in Egypt, as we always have said here on this channel. 1950, the Korean War. Why would they want to have a Korean War? They had to have control over the entire world, even the East. That's why we then went to Vietnam, places like this. We took over the Philippines, Hong Kong, all of it. That was the U.S. forces under the UN command. Well, the UN is a government over all the other governments. It's a council that supposed to control the world through a United Nations government controlled by the intelligence agencies, which were controlled by the financiers, the bankers, who were Jewish, who were also now completely controlling the intelligence agencies and a mind control over the entire public world. You'll see something here that you've never seen before, so stay tuned. 1952, National Security Agency, the NSA, formed a handle signals intelligence and code breaking. 1953, Operation Ajax. Ajax is a cleanser. What were they cleansing? Well, the CIA-backed coup d'etat in Iran that overthrew Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. By the way, when that happened, the Ayatollah Khomeini and all the stuff going on over there, the Shah of Iran is a CIA British German intelligence, as well as Gaza, Hamas is all run by the Jewish intelligence agencies and created by them and not by the people of Gaza or the people in Palestine or Palestinians. The PLO, Yasser Arafat, not a grassroots individual, but literally a CIA British German intelligence agent. All of it's been that from the time that everything began. Every operation, every war, everything, including the Apollo moon mission and the Saturn rocket industry, which was a Saturn project operation. And it started from the MK Ultra mind control operation. We'll show you this here. 1954, Operation PB Success, CIA-backed coup in Guatemala. Notice that's PBS Success, meaning propaganda. So we're overthrowing Iran, Guatemala, Vietnam, Korea, all of these places. We run all of the world. Who? We? The United States? No. Jewish intelligence runs the entire world. 1954, Operation Gold, a joint CIA M16, which M16 is British intelligence. So in 1954, 55, 56, we've got the CIA and the M16 project to build a tunnel under East Berlin to tap Soviet communication lines. You see, this was a operation, and what they tell you about it's not always true. So it wasn't an operation to communicate or to tap Soviet communications. It was to combine the Soviet communications with the West, because the CIA that was started by the British was a Jewish intelligence in Britain that was actually started by the KGB, because the Jewish people in the Bolshevik Revolution took over the Soviet Union and created the KGB. They are the premier intelligence agency that was then just transferred to Israel, or is working in various countries like Israel, CIA, and America, of course, and the British, as well as the German. All of it under the Jewish Illuminati, started in Bavarian Germany. The Illuminati started by Jews, Adam Weishaupt, in Bavaria. And this is also right near Bohemia, where we have the Bohemian Grove here. And all the presidents, both Republican and Democrat, go and have their orgies and sacrifice humans. And you're not allowed to see that. People will claim, and they claim, that they don't actually sacrifice humans. They perform a mock sacrifice of humans. But we hear screams. We have seen pictures of them sacrificing humans there. It looks real. We hear people screaming as though it is real, but they claim it is fake. But 1955, now that's right in the joint CIA M16 project, right? To build a tunnel between Germany and Russia so they can communicate. Same year, 1955, Operation MK Ultra, a controversial CIA mind control research program involving human experimentation. That was 1955, right after World War II. 1958, Project Azorian, initially a highly classified CIA project to recover a sunken Soviet submarine from the Pacific Ocean floor. 1960, Operation Mongoose, a program of covert operations aimed at stirring up a revolution within Cuba to overthrow Fidel Castro. Well, friends, none of this is actually what they're saying. The Soviets were in Cuba. We let them be there. And the idea that we overthrew them is ridiculous. It's still a communist country. We have a base there. Now, if the communists have a base there and we have a base there, then it's not what they tell you, that we're trying to spy on them, but it's because we're in it together. It's covert. We have bases together in Venezuela. And all of that is a covert operation. 1961, Bay of Pigs invasion, a failed CIA-backed attempt by Cuban exiles. 1961, National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, formed to operate U.S. intelligence satellites. Satellites are for intelligence. Elon Musk is putting up a vast web, or Star Wars, as Reagan said it would be. He called it that. It's a military defense. I would say it's a surveillance operation, because if you look up in the sky, you see these stars all over the place. They're not even stars. They're in straight lines, and they're positioned above us all around the globe like a web, like Star Wars, some kind of a, iron dome that they've got over Israel. And now Elon is putting it around the entire world. And by the way, it was activated by NASA a couple of weeks ago because of the IA-3 Atlas that's going to be here in December 19th, a few days. They claim that's what they're doing. But remember, it's an operation, a program. It's a MK Ultra mind control operation, just like HARP and all the others. Blue Beam. We'll go through as many as we can, or they will admit. And they're operations to deceive the world. They're covert operations run by Jewish individuals, and they're not against each other. The KGB is a Jewish operation that took over M16, M15, and the British intelligence operations and the German intelligence operations. In America, we didn't have any of these operations, projects, and programs like this from our intelligence or military operations, or to control people's minds or anything, until after World War II. Because that's when they set up the CIA here in 1947, right after World War II. And that's also when they started this operation of aliens, which we're going to get into. 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense standoff with the Soviet Union. It was part of the illusion of having the Soviet Union and America fighting one another, like Democrats, Republicans, Hegelian dialectic. It's part of the process. The Jews run it all. There's no tension between Russia and the United States. There's no tension between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're operating together. Good guy, good cop, bad cop, extorting human beings, all your money, forcing you to submit to laws that is basically martial law all over the world. You can't go anywhere in the world without the exact same thing called police, military, martial in every country. We are all just like North Korea here, whether you're in Russia or the United States or Australia, Britain, or Mozambique. Everywhere in the world, we're getting the same propaganda on television, radio, cars, the same technologies, the same financial businesses and products that you buy and sell full of chemicals to kill you and distort your mind. 1964-73, Vietnam, Operation Barrel Roll, Operation Rolling Thunder, the MAC-V SOG, Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies, the Phoenix Program, a controversial program designed to identify and eliminate the civilian supporters of the Viet Cong. And by the way, they're eliminating other supporters of truth. They watch and monitor everyone who does not conform. 1967 Operation Chaos. Does this sound like something that you want to finance? Why would the world, all run by Jews, and you think they're all against each other? Soviet Jews, American Jews, and they're all against each other? And they're coming up with stuff like Operation Chaos and MK Ultra mind control, the hippie movement, the whole Apollo mission. It was a hoax. All of it's a hoax. Post-Cold War and war on terror. Huh? Yeah, there's a war on terror, which they create the terror. Because Al-Qaeda and ISIS were both British, Israeli, and American and Russian intelligence backed. Why does Russia never really ever do anything against us, and we don't ever do anything against them? We just go to the areas and stand off and make it scary so that we can extort more money out of the people, both there and here, in communist countries in America. Isn't it interesting that the world's divided into communist, capitalist countries? Almost evenly, always. Just like America supposedly evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans. They want you to believe it's evenly divided. There's nothing we can do. It's a standoff. But it's never been such. 1983, Urgent Fury, U.S. invasion of Grenada. That was during Reagan's reign. 1989, Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. See, they got to have control of everything, especially the canals and the trade routes, Panama Canal. Noriega, that was Manuel Noriega. Remember the Arms for Contra by Reagan. 1990, 1991, Gulf War, Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, a U.S.-led coalition operation to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait. Well, remember, this is Bush, who was the chief of the CIA and was the one who was behind the murder of President Kennedy. And Nixon was at the meeting and then was appointed president. Nixon was at the Bohemian Grove along with Carter and all the others. Republicans and Democrats, they all knew what was going on. It was an operation. Probably Kennedy didn't even die. I will tell you, Kennedy was sleeping with Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was sleeping with and was partnered with one of the many women wives of Anton LaVey. LaVey is a Levite. He created the Satanic Church. And people in Hollywood like Marilyn Monroe, Doris Day, and many others were all part of the Satanic occult, Jewish individuals. Elvis was a Jew. All of these individuals were Jews that were flashing the devil signs. And if Kennedy was sleeping with Marilyn Monroe, it was either a covert operation to seduce him, or he was in on it. And since he had relations with her and his wife, Jackie, didn't seem to really mind. It seems like everybody, look at the Obama thing. He's married to a man. How about Macron, who's a man, evidently, married to another man that dressed like a woman? What about Biden's pick for the health secretary? A little fat, hairy old man dressed up in a dress. You think they really want to dress up like a woman and they look like some old man? Do you think they look cute? No, it's a mind control operation. You people need to wake up. The Gulf War, 1999, Operation Allied Force, NATO bombing campaign against Yugoslavia. The Kosovo War, 2001, Operation Noble Eagle, aerospace defense of North America after 9/11 attacks. 2001, but by the way, the 9/11 attacks was done by the CIA and the British and German and Israeli intelligence. Al-Qaeda was directly created by British, American, Russian, Israeli intelligence. 2001-2014, Operation Enduring Freedom. Intervention in Afghanistan to combat Al-Qaeda, which Al-Qaeda was created by the CIA. 2003-2010, Operation Iraqi Freedom. The U.S.-led invasion of Iraq and toppled Saddam Hussein's government. 2010-2011, Operation New Dawn. New Dawn? A new dawn? Oh, we had a dawn, but now we got a new dawn? Well, I want to go back to the dawn's early light of the United States of America, but not a new dawn. Marked the formal end of the U.S. combat operations in Iraq. 2011, Operation Neptune Spear, the CIA and the U.S. military special operations mission that resulted in the death of Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda created by the CIA. Bin Laden died years before that of liver damage or something, and he was a CIA Israeli agent, as well as Epstein, guys, as you know. And Trump was said by Nixon that he would be a president at some point, as well as I think Nancy Reagan, and he was on Phil Donahue asking about him running and Oprah, and 2020 with Barbara Walters asking him if he's going to run for president. From the time he was a young boy, he was groomed to become president. Donald Trump knew JFK Jr. was related and had business deals with him at Mar-a-Lago. And there's a guy sitting behind Trump in all of his rallies that looks exactly like JFK Jr. And then his wife, Caroline Bassett Kennedy, that I would bet if I had a $10,000 bill right now, I would bet at least $5,000 on it that woman that sits behind Donald Trump in the crowd is a much older person, but that is JFK Jr.'s wife, Caroline Bassett. I believe it is. And they do things in the public, in the open. They flash the signs. They know what's going on, but they keep us in confusion. They smile and mock us and throw up the victory sign that we think is a peace sign. They got victory over us. They think they're about to be proven wrong because Jesus is returning, guys. 2014 to present, Operation Inherent Resolve, the ongoing military intervention against the Islamic State. Did you know that the internet was created at CERN in Germany? They created the internet. It's part of a project to drill a hole and allow Satan to come up out of the bottomless pit. And they probably know what they mean by that. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody that's a deity with two horns. This is why they brought Werner von Braun over to run the Saturn operation, which is the rocket that got Apollyon, the Antichrist, who works for Saturn, Satan, the operation of Satan, to go to this big thing called Atlas, the general in Saturn's army, which is arriving on December 19th. They're claiming it's an alien ship. And the Saturn project operation was a rocket, not to go to the moon, but it has to do with the MK Ultra mind control project to think and to make the world believe that there is no Christ. We're not in an enclosed world that was created by our Heavenly Father, but a vast, infinite nothing created by chance, run by Satan, the darkness, no time, no order, no nothing. And these operations are satanic mind control operations on the public, friends. So I write, what about all the programs and the operations like Saturn, Mercury, and Apollo? Could you show these in the list and all the others you are legally able to disclose? They say Project Mercury, Project Gemini, and the Apollo program, which used the Saturn launch vehicles, were primarily major scientific and technological programs led by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, a civilian agency focused on space exploration and research. These programs are distinct from military or intelligence operations, although some NASA assets and data were shared with national security agencies. Why are science programs called programs and CIA programs and operations are also called the same thing? Classified. You're not allowed to know what's going on. Mind control. The programs themselves were part of the broader Cold War competition with the Soviet Union, which there is no competition with the Soviet Union, just like there's no competition with Democrats and Republicans. Here is a chronological ordered list that integrates these major publicly known NASA space programs. 1947, right after World War II. National Security Act of 1947 established the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. 52, the National Security Agency. 1953, Project Ajax. 1955, Operation MK Ultra. 1959, 1963, Project Mercury. 1961, which Project Mercury was NASA's first human space flight program with the goal of putting a human in Earth orbit. 1961, Bay of Pigs invasion, failed CIA-backed attempt. 61, Apollo program. 61 to 75. The Apollo program, NASA program with the goal of landing humans on the moon, which was accomplished by Apollo 11 in July of 1969. It was not accomplished. It was a hoax. It's a mind control. Go right back here, 1955 to 1965, Operation MK Ultra. Mind control. That went on till 1965, they say. So, the Apollo program's 1961, 1975. Operation MK Ultra was going on in 1961 when the Apollo program was still going on, or was begun. A goal of landing humans on the moon. 61, Reconnaissance Office established formed to operate U.S. intelligence satellites. Now we've got Elon putting up a web of satellites all around to surveil the entire planet. 64 to 73, Vietnam War. 65 to 66, Project Gemini, a second human spacecraft program designed to develop advanced space travel techniques and docking, crucial for Apollo. 73 to 74, Skylab program, America's first space station, using leftover Apollo hardware for space science and long-duration missions. 1981, 2011, Space Shuttle program. Remember the Space Shuttle program, how it ended with some group of individuals that all died when it blew up in the air and everybody watched and we're like, oh, in horror, right? We're watching this. And you've seen, I don't know how many of you've seen that all of the individuals that were on that space shuttle never died. It's all a hoax and they all pretend it was real. Why? Because they're all involved. They're under oath. They're part of the Illuminati. They have a program. They flash the symbols to each other. They know what they're doing. It's an act. And that clip I showed you at the beginning, that supposed astronaut is lying. And I can prove that to myself by looking at his explanations about the flag and the and the poo-poo and this and the poo-poo and that and all the, they get an old man to say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. It was real. I did it. And we're supposed to believe him, but he never, not at all, gave us any proof. He was supposed to be proving to Glenn Beck that we really went to the moon, and he didn't bring any proof. Just his promise that it was real. Right? For all we know, he was in a movie studio and he thought it was real. Some ignorant old fart that thought it was real. He hadn't got a clue, perhaps. Or maybe he's in on it, and I think they are. Operation Urgent Fury, Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom. Basically, Wernher von Braun was the guy that got us to the moon. His Saturn rocket operation is what got them the Apollo mission. What took the Apollo pod thing, the rocket that took it to the moon. And Wernher von Braun is a Bavarian Illuminati. German, Jewish, and he is related by blood to Elon Musk. They both have the same high cheekbones. And I will posit to you that what Glenn Beck said about Disney, Walt Disney, having something to do with the Apollo MK Ultra mind control program that we went to the moon and that aliens are coming and not Jesus, is a Disney production. And if you go and look at Trump's dad, he looks like Walt Disney. And then look at Donald Trump's uncle, who looks like Julian Assange, exactly like Julian Assange. Go look at it. Who was the guy that was given the papers, John Trump, Trump's uncle, about time travel and very technical scientific information that was supposedly given to us by Nikola Tesla. And I don't believe Nikola Tesla really invented any of this. It was used for government projects. The internet probably was created by those scientific equations and stuff that was given to Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump. So John Trump and Trump was involved in the CIA and this group of Jewish individuals that were conniving with this MK Ultra mind control operation on America. I said, is I3 Atlas a program, operation, or project? They say the term Atlas refers to a major scientific project and program. The Atlas Program Project, the Atlas Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, is a program project developed by the University of Hawaii and funded by NASA. Is disclosure, quote unquote, a project, operation, or program? Was Roswell alien crash a project, operation, or program? Disclosure is not a formal, singular U.S. government project, operation, or program itself, claiming that they're classified documents about things that aren't real. It's a MK Ultra mind control to tell us this stuff is going on when it's not. It was all done by our government, not aliens. And I promise you this, I testify to you in the name of Jesus that the Lord had specifically shown me in vision that all of these UFOs and all of these technologies came from the scientific community of this world and the Illuminati intelligence agencies, all of them, that came from the Nazis, that were created by the Jewish intelligence agencies. Notice that Germany was using Einstein to build bombs, and Einstein and Weinstein, and come on, guys, come on now. And Werner von Braun writes a book, a novel, just like L. Ron Hubbard writes novels, just like other occult individuals write novels about somebody who's going to be the last president named a Trump, lives in a castle on Fifth Avenue, and he's got a son named Barron. These were occult documents. So Werner von Braun writes a novel saying that someday a guy named Elon would take us to Mars. It's propaganda. They're not prophets. The Roswell incident, alien crash, was not an officially named U.S. government project. Not official. Notice how they say that? It was, but we're not going to say it officially. Just like back up here where it says disclosure is not a formal government project or operation. Not formally, not outwardly, but inwardly, yes. And so the Roswell program, or the alien crash, was not an officially named U.S. government project, operation, or program. At the time, it occurred in 1947. Not at that time. Maybe later. But we ain't going to talk about that. Instead, the events surrounding the crash involve several different military actions categorized as internal military responses, a response operation, the U.S. Army Air Force personnel from the Roswell Army Airfield, blah, 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 program of study. Weren't the people mostly involved in things like the CIA, the FBI, space or rocket programs, NASA, even the Satanic Church and Scientology, perhaps the music industry and movies? Jack Polanski, I should say Roman Polanski, and Anton LaVey, created by students of Aleister Crowley. Well, the premise that the individuals involved in the U.S. government agencies, CIA, FBI, NASA, rocket programs, or the founders of groups like the Church of Satan and Scientology were all students of British occultist Aleister Crowley is a conspiracy theory and a significant oversimplification. Yeah, it's true, but you're oversimplifying it, of historical connections. Here are the facts regarding the connections between Aleister Crowley and the organizations and people you mentioned. Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, was involved in the Thelemic Crowley's religion ritual group in California in the mid-1940s, run by rocket scientist Jack Parsons. So they're doing this really even before World War II has ended. Run by the rocket scientists, they say mid-1940s. I mean, this is like basically 1945, just about the time the war's over. Run by rocket scientist Jack Parsons. Parsons was a dedicated follower and correspondent of Aleister Crowley, whom Crowley considered his American protege. Hubbard participated in Parsons' circle for a period of time, and there is scholarly debate about how much Crowley's occult ideas influenced the development of Scientology. Well, Aleister Crowley wanted to be the beast, to bring in the whole Revelation scenario, the end of the world. Jack Parsons claimed to be the dragon or the beast, and all of them were literally trying to carry out this crazy idea that we have in the book of Revelation about the beast coming up out of the bottomless pit. Though most scholars agree that they were only one element among many in Hubbard's eclectic belief system, Hubbard also referred to Crowley as his very good friend in recorded lectures, though he never met him in person. Church of Satan and Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, was influenced by Crowley's writings and theatrical style. LaVey was an atheist whose philosophy utilized Satan as a symbol of the human liberation and rejection of traditional Christianity, the rejection of Christ. Not as a literal deity, LaVey did not study directly under Crowley. He drew inspiration from Crowley's published works. Music and movies. Aleister Crowley's work had a significant impact on counterculture, art, music. Artists like Led Zeppelin, guitarist Jimmy Page were influenced by Crowley. And anyone who listens to Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin is being programmed by Satanists. If you're throwing up the bull sign, stop it. Unless you want to, from this point forward, tell the world that you're a Satanist and you reject Jesus Christ. And if you want to do that, you go ahead. That's your right. But you will not make it into the new, beautiful world that Christ is bringing, where he will get rid of all of this evil very soon. Do not be proud of any of these Satanists. Do not be doing that. You ridiculous fool. Stop it. And I see a lot of people, certain individuals that I don't want to name here, on certain channels that we sometimes debate, who are really into some of this satanic electric guitar, Jimmy Page stuff. And if you don't know what you're doing, then stop doing it until you know. And they were influenced by Crowley and even purchased his former residence. Really, Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page purchased their former satanic church residence. Filmmaker Kenneth Anger was a dedicated Thelemite, which is a Aleister Crowley group, and mentored musicians like Mick Jagger. You ever wonder why Mick Jagger looks like Satan? Because he is. Don't you dare think you're a Christian and listen to Mick Jagger. It's ridiculous, friends. Stop it. Stop throwing up this bull sign and telling me it means love. You're fools, all of you. However, these are examples of cultural influence rather than, the entire industry, being created by Crowley and his students. Ha ha ha. Well, I'll prove that they're wrong. The individuals mentioned, such as likely references to Roman Polanski, not Jack Palance, I made that mistake, might have tangential connections to people interested in the occult. Really? Is that why Elon Musk's mother looks like Cruella de Vil? Or how do you pronounce that? The madame that runs the occult, basically, Mother Witch, was the madame who ran the girls that Charles Manson was living with and sleeping with. So I don't know. Maybe she slept with Charles Manson as well. Guys, Elon Musk is into the occult. He's wearing the Baphomet suit and gave the Nazi salute. And you all watched it and went, no, he can't be doing that. Close your eyes. I see nothing. I hear nothing. Right? You stupid Nazis. So just tangential connections to people interested in the occult. But they were not part of a coordinated effort by Crowley students to create an entire industry. Yes, they were. These guys are lying sacks of crap. Debunked claims. Well, the U.S. government agencies, CIA, FBI, NASA claims that these government organizations were founded or run by students of Aleister Crowley are false. Oh, they're false. NASA, a rocket program. The connection here stems from Jack Parsons, the rocket scientist and Crowley follower. Parsons was a co-founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a research center that eventually became NASA. While Parsons was a brilliant scientist and a devoted occultist, NASA itself was a civilian agency founded by the act of Congress. Yeah, with the CIA and people that were of Jewish descent and intelligence agencies running Congress and the banking industry buying Congress. 1958, run by civilian administrators. No connection to the occult, right? Our entire government is the occult, guys. The entire legislative body. CIA, FBI, these agencies were formed through legislative actions and staffed by career civil servants and military personnel. There's no evidence that they were created by primarily involved Crowley students. So, I asked, well, were any people part of the CIA and FBI startup groups either Jewish or intelligence people? Wasn't Crowley himself an intelligence agent and his students part of some operation, program, or project? They say yes. Well, I thought you said no. I thought it had nothing to do with the occult and Crowley, but now it's a yes. You got to help them remember a little bit, guys. Yes, numerous Jewish individuals, numerous. They wouldn't even put that word there, right? If it weren't true. It probably should be all, or if some of them weren't Jews, they were working for the Jewish people. Some of them are Roman Catholics, and some of them pretend to be different things. Trump pretends to be from Norman Vincent Peale's Christianity, which is mind over matter and big friends with Nixon and part of the whole Bohemian Grove thing. They were instrumental in the formation and early operations of both the U.S. intelligence agencies and the FBI's precursor, the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. Jewish individuals in the U.S. intelligence. Jewish Americans played a significant role in U.S. intelligence during the after World War II, often driven by a strong desire to fight Nazism. The Ritchie Boys. This was a special U.S. military intelligence training program at Camp Ritchie, Maryland. By the way, there at Maryland, Fort Detrick is where they came up with the thingy and all of the FLU chicken, things and the parasites and all the cancer, AIDS, all of that was created in a lab at Fort Detrick, Maryland, and whose members were heavily comprised of German-born Jewish refugees. Right? We brought them over. Project Paperclip. Their knowledge of German language and culture made them incredibly effective interrogators and intelligence gatherers on the front lines in Europe. They were responsible for over 60% of actionable intelligence gathered on the battlefield. Many of these individuals became precursors to CIA agents, with some continuing their intelligence careers in the OSS and the newly formed CIA after the war. They're all Jews that started the CIA. Key individuals, people like Noah Cohen. Cohen means a priest, a Jewish priest. Noah Cohen, a Jewish priest who worked for the OSS and later the CIA due to his fluency in German, Hebrew, and Arabic were part of these early groups. Peter Sichel, another German Jew who escaped the Holocaust, became a high-ranking officer in the CIA, managing sensitive operations behind the Iron Curtain, intelligence professions, and agency startups. The CIA was established in 1947, right after World War II, because it was transferred from the Nazis to America. Remember that. Briefly with the British, and then they transferred it to America. Well, I'd say British and American. And Russia. They're all working for the original Illuminati. It was specifically designed as an intelligence agency, the CIA was, from the wartime OSS, which is all run by Jews. The OSS to CIA. Many of the founding members and early leaders of the CIA, such as Director Alan Dulles, came directly from the OSS, bringing significant intelligence gathering experience with them. The FBI versus CIA founders. The FBI was established earlier as the Bureau of Investigation in 1908, becoming the FBI in 1935. Had different institutional historical focusing on domestic law enforcement. The CIA was a direct outgrowth of wartime foreign intelligence needs. Well, the FBI is run completely by the Western Masonic group called Mormonism. It's Masonic secret society. They run everything over here in the West, including underground cities and bases and military and FBI and everything. An agent of influence. The consensus among some intelligence historians is that Crowley was likely an asset or agent of influence rather than a traditional spy. He was used by the British as a propagandist. So the British intelligence agency, that is the CIA agency, same thing, created Aleister Crowley, Scientology, and the Church of Satan, and the music and Hollywood and all the propaganda, science, NASA, Jack Parsons, all of it created by the Jewish intelligence agencies, guys. It's hard to overlook this. So, he was used by the British as a propagandist and counter-propagandist in the U.S. during World War I. And you don't think that the music industry in Hollywood is propaganda? And do you know who was the agent in the CIA over for the last, I don't know how many years, that was over the propaganda, the CIA agent over that? Tucker Carlson's dad. Did you know that Tucker Carlson's dad was over all the propaganda, PBS and all of that? And now Tucker Carlson is the head of a program. He's working with Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, which Candace Owens admitted they were Masons. Charlie Kirk was a Mason. He was wearing the Masonic ring. It's all a big operation. It's a program like MK Ultra Mind Control. That's what all of these are based on. Covert Jewish Bavarian occult, covert MK Ultra Mind Control. It's a program on your mind. And what is it all culminating in? They're going to say that aliens are here and Jesus isn't coming. Or maybe it is Jesus and they're going to attack it and say it's aliens, but it's Jesus and Jesus will win. I doubt that's the right way to go, but something's about to happen. This is all being built up and staged for a final showdown. He was used by the British as a propagandist and counter-propagandist in the U.S. during World War I, writing over the top pro-German articles that were intended to provoke American outrage and push the U.S. into war. Occult connections. There are theories that Crowley's students, such as Jack Parsons, operated within a certain project or operation framework where their occult interests potentially overlap with their professional fields, rocket science for Parsons, which were relevant to national security. However, the notion that Crowley orchestrated a grand program, not himself, he was just an agent, you fools, using his students to infiltrate the entire U.S. government is considered a conspiracy theory. In summary, Jewish people and professional intelligence officers were integral to the formation of the U.S. intelligence, and there is evidence suggesting Crowley worked for the British intelligence. All right, good. Glad you admitted that much. Wasn't Anton LaVey Jewish? The last name LaVey means Levite, and Noah Cohen was also a Levite or priest name from Judaism and lineage. And they say, yes, both claims about the ancestral significance of their surnames are generally correct with the context of Jewish lineage and tradition. Anton LaVey, Howard Stanton LaVey, Jewish heritage. Anton LaVey was born Howard Stanton LaVey to Jewish parents. His father was a Jewish man of Russian descent. See, it all comes from Russian KGB guys, because they are the ones who took over Russia, the Jews, in the Bolshevik Revolution. His mother's family also had Russian, Ukrainian, Jewish roots. A direct line, mother and father. Surname meaning. His original surname, LaVey, a common variation of Levi or Levi, does indeed signify that his paternal ancestors belonged to the tribe of Levi in ancient Judaism. The Levites were the assistants to the priests, the Kohanim, in the Temple of Jerusalem. While Levi was ethnically Jewish, he was an avowed atheist and founded Levian Satanism as a philosophy that rejects the existence of all gods, including a literal Satan. However, Satan is Yahweh. They do animal and human sacrifices. Satanism and Yahwehism is Satanism. And so they created Satanism so they could publicly and outwardly practice the religion of Yahwehism. And that's a fact. And then they brought people in like Marilyn Monroe and Doris Day or whatever, slept with him, got whatever favors they wanted, but they're all Jews anyway. In order to play, you got to pay. The surname, or Noah Cohen, the surname Cohen, Hebrew for priest, is the most common Jewish surname. Denotes that the bearer's paternal ancestors were Kohanim, the priestly class in ancient Judaism. The Kohanim are a specific lineage within the broader tribe of Levi, directly descended from Aaron and the brother of Moses. Lineage, therefore, is a person named Noah Cohen, assuming he is a practicing Jew or his family maintains the tradition, is by name and tradition a direct descendant of the biblical high priesthood. Apollo was a program. Why was it called that? Wasn't it a project go to the moon? Why is it a program? Apollo was called a program because it was a massive multi-year, multi-billion-dollar effort with broad national goals, tech dominance, exploration, not just a single project, and was named after the Greek deity of light, sun, by NASA's Abe Silverstein. Oh, they weren't Jews running NASA. Oh yeah, Einstein and Silverstein and the Weinsteins were running NASA. And they had a program, a project, right? What was their project? Well, they continued the mythological naming theme from Project Mercury, symbolizing grand aspirational achievement, even if the deity wasn't moon-related. It was more than just a moon landing project. It was an establishing of the U.S. space preeminence. Why are they naming it after deities? Because it all starts with the Sumerian deities, cosmic powers that they claim is our history. All the way down to Alexander the Great, who was the defender of man. That's what Alexander the Great means. Alexander means the defender of man. He's in a war, a great battle with Darius called the power of the people. So the defender of man is defeating the power of the people at that time. However, as time went on, the power of the people took over, and no one was defending man at all. The power of the people is confusion. It is democracy, created by Plato's Republic, who fell. Originally, Aristotle and these guys and Pythagoras were good people. But Aristotle did not agree with Alexander the Great because Alexander the Great wanted to hold back all of this information, the secrets, and not give it to humans. And actually, Plato had the same idea. If you ever read Plato's Republic, this is what we're doing here with Plato's Republic. It would be to take everybody's children away from when they were born and have a socialist communist world, which is what we have in the world today. A republic, which is communism. We're not defended by deity or Jesus, but by a collection of oligarchs or financiers, which is why Elon Musk wants to have this technocracy, which is the world's run by these Jews that they'll now call technocrats. Why program? Why Apollo? Mythological theme. NASA director Abby Silverstein chose it to fit the pattern of mythology like Mercury, the messenger deity used for space projects. Symbolism. Apollo, the deity of light, sun, music, and prophecy, represented the grand scale and bright future of ambitious endeavor. Well, the book of Revelation says that the Antichrist's name is Apollyon. And of course, we've got this Atlas, which was Saturn's right-hand man, the general in his army, holding up the lower nature, holding up the earth. So it's all about Saturn, Apollo. That's why they're trying to get us back to the Aquarian age, back down at the bottom of the wheel we came out of already, where Saturn reigned in the age of Aquarius. You see, but we're actually going towards Taurus now. We're right now going into the age of Taurus, not Aquarius. See, Aquarius is in the bottom of the wheel, in the darkness, under the law of Moses, Saturn, the donkey deity, the brute beast. But when Jesus went from Pisces to Aries, he became, at the dawn, the Christ. And now we're going into the dawn's early light. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. We're going into Taurus, into the day of summer, or the great day of our Divine Father and our Divine Mother. So I'm not trying to say that Apollo is a bad thing, but because they don't understand the occult and they're just turning everything upside down, like the cross upside down and pyramids upside down, they're saying they want to go back in the astrological wheel in time to when mankind was controlled by law and the Jews were supreme. The attractive name Silverstein also reportedly just thought Apollo sounded good. What was the program or Project Saturn? Project Saturn, or the Saturn program, referred to the comprehensive development and the use of Saturn family of heavy lift rockets by NASA. The key developer, the rockets were developed by the Marshall Space Flight Center under the direction of Dr. Werner von Braun, a German Nazi. The main versions of the Saturn rocket were built and flown: Saturn I, Saturn IB, and Saturn V, the iconic moon rocket, and the largest, most powerful rocket ever successfully flown. It was a super heavy lift vehicle that launched the Apollo astronauts from Earth orbit toward the moon. It was also used to launch the Skylab space station into orbit in 1973. When were these things begun in the USA as quoted above? The use of the terms program, operation, and project in the context of the U.S. military and intelligence activities evolved over time, becoming formalized primarily in the mid to the late 20th century, during and after World War II and the Cold War. The operations and military code names, the American military began adopting code names, nicknames, for plans during the World War II era, developing out of a practice of color coding war plans in the interwar period. The first instance where an unclassified public relations savvy nickname was used for a U.S. operation was for the atomic bomb test in 1946, called Operation Crossroads. Formalization post-World War II. The modern formal use of these terms by the CIA and the Department of Defense was a result of the Cold War and subsequent bureaucratic structures. CIA operations, the Central Intelligence Agency, was established by the National Security Act of 1947. The DoD program and project used the program as a formal, highly secure classification. Began in the 1940s. President Roosevelt created the first security classification in 1940. However, the Pentagon created its own special access labels for President Eisenhower, issued an executive order in 1953 to further insulate classification information. The formal term Special Access Program was officially made legitimate in 1972 by Executive Order 11652. Was the Apollo program and the Saturn and Mercury programs covert actions or operations? No, the Mercury, Saturn, and Apollo programs were absolutely not covert action operations. They were large-scale, publicly funded, civilian-led national endeavors of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, run by Aleister Crowley and the occult, and Jewish, Levites, designed specifically to be open and visible to the world. Well, it was open, but it was being hidden by MK Ultra mind control and propaganda. Key distinctions: public visibility, civilian agencies, primary goal, oversight by government, which is run by the same people. So, CIA gave NASA intelligence about the Soviet space program. Some missions, like Gemini 5, occasionally included minor passive military experiment involving classified data collection, and Could they have been covert if they were not real, but mind control operations or MK Ultra operations? There is no credible evidence that the Apollo, Saturn, or Mercury programs were fake or were covert action operations related to Project MK Ultra. The idea that the moon landings were a hoax orchestrated for mind control is a persistent conspiracy theory, but it's a demonstrably false and entirely separate from the documented facts of the space programs in Project MK Ultra. Why the theories are false: massive scale and witnesses, over 400,000 people, physical evidence, moon rockets, lunar reflections, visual evidence, scientific debunking. MK Ultra versus space program. MK Ultra was a real, highly secretive CIA research project. By the way, guys, do you also know that the biggest movie that was ever made was called Avatar? And I think they're coming out with a new one, or it's just come out or something. That was a cartoon. It wasn't a real movie. It was a cartoon. And in the movie, they went to some planet and destroyed it or something. Notice there was the connection to the tree of life and the animals. They were all connected, one harmonious world. It was like they were going back into this fantasy of perfection. And something was going in there and destroying this beautiful world. Avatar, what is that? Well, it wasn't real. There was no space travel in that movie. They were put in drawers with a Neuralink that Elon Musk makes. And they were taken to this place that could have been Mars. Or maybe it was in the past and they want to rebuild it after their own image. They want to go to Mars. How are they going to do it? They won't do it with space rockets. They'll do it with a Neuralink. It's all fake. It's MK Ultra. And they told you right straight up in that movie that it's all fake. It's about AI, computers, CGI. It's not real. All the star pictures and the pictures of the moon and Apollo mission, it's all fake. Done by Disney Productions. And I'll show you that here in a second. The Mercury, Saturn, and Apollo programs were peaceful, public-facing, civilian-run space exploration efforts. Civilian-run? What, like Elon Musk, part of the, occult? What? So I say, but why are they called projects or operations and programs, especially since one was Operation Paperclip and another Project Mockingbird, and crazier than that, Project MK Ultra Mind Control? If our government was doing operations like this, that were mind control, what about LSD or AIDS and the aspirin? Doesn't this indicate that with Project Paperclip, we might have simply transferred the German operations and intelligence programs to the American? Crickets. They have got no reply to that. Here are the top website results. They don't answer me. When they do that, they're telling me Apple. They can't tell me. Or they just can't answer that question. It's illegal, classified, or, yeah, you're right, Apple. This is a little thing that me and AI have going. When they can't tell me, they say Apple. Or they say nothing. So there you go. So what about this Disney thing that Glenn Beck mentioned that was part of NASA? What's that all about? So guys, get a load of this. Why did Glenn Beck say NASA was influenced by Walt Disney? And what was the movie he made? And what part didn't Disney play? They say, well, Glenn Beck claimed that NASA was influenced by Walt Disney in order to perpetuate the idea that the moon landing was a staged event, suggesting it was part of a grand production akin to the Hollywood movie. The movie referenced in relation to this conspiracy theory is Capricorn 1, 1978, a film that depicts a fictional hoax journey to Mars. Interesting, it's Mars, right? And that's related to Werner von Braun, who wanted to go to Mars. That was going to be his project. And then he said that a man would come later named Elon that would do it. And now we've got it. Elon's trying to get to Mars with the Neuralink, which is a hoax, which is fantasy, which is Disney, right? So the movie referenced is Capricorn 1, 1978, a film that depicts a fictional hoax journey to Mars in a spacecraft identical in appearance to the Apollo craft. Identical to the Apollo craft. The conspiracy theory suggests that this movie's premise was evidence that the real moon landings were faked, potentially with the involvement of Hollywood and Disney. Disney's actual involvement with space exploration. Oh, there's an actual involvement too. Contrary to the conspiracy theorists, the historical connection between Disney and NASA was a legitimate educational and promotional collaboration, not a hoax. Werner von Braun and Walt Disney in the mid-1950s, long before NASA was established, rocket scientist Werner von Braun collaborated with Walt Disney on a series of animated television specials. Von Braun sought to generate public enthusiasm and support for space exploration, and he saw the Disney platform as a powerful way to reach a mass audience. But guys, you got a question. If Werner von Braun was a Nazi, and the only reason they brought him over here was to somehow his brains could create a rocket and we could get to the moon, why was he collaborating with Walt Disney and propaganda and trying to get the world public opinion and all? What's all this? Why was Werner von Braun writing a novel about Elon Musk going to Mars before he was even born, probably? Well, that's the question, isn't it? Werner von Braun collaborated with Walt Disney on a series of animated special television shows. He sought to generate public enthusiasm and support for the space exploration, and he saw the Disney platform as a powerful way to reach the mass audience. The Man in Space. The specific television episode was titled Man in Space, part of the Disneyland television series, which aired in 1955, about 6 years before the whole Apollo thing. The pseudo-documentary blended animation and live action to present scientific concepts like rocketry, orbital space station, and a future manned orbit around the moon. Impact. The collaboration had a significant cultural impact, exciting the American public about the future of space travel and influencing many future aerospace engineers and NASA officials. Glenn Beck's comments about Disney influencing NASA tie into a broader theme in which he has commented on Disney influence on American culture and its central planning experiments, often using the company as a metaphor for his political critiques rather than providing evidence of a hoax. Now, guys, buckle up. Make sure you're sitting down, at least. I'm about to show you the evidence that Donald Trump, John Trump with the Tesla papers, was connected to Walt Disney and the entire project, program, operation, Illuminati, Jewish conspiracy, CIA, intelligence, Israeli intelligence, all of it is connected to Donald Trump. Now, I wrote a question and they deleted everything that, thank goodness I recorded everything just now. I read everything up to the last sentence. I did nothing different. I didn't accidentally delete anything. I just asked one more question. And it was how Trump and what Trump has to do with Disney and Walt Disney. Because if you look at the pictures of Donald Trump's dad, he looks identical to Walt Disney. Their faces, they look exactly alike. And they're from the same era. Just as Elon Musk looks identical, or, very similar to Werner von Braun. And they both run rocket businesses, SpaceX and Saturn, Saturn being dark, occultish, X, right? And when I pushed the button, they said nothing. They just gave me the crickets thing, right? They wouldn't answer me. So I said, can you answer the question? Now, at that point, everything was there. They hadn't deleted it. They just wouldn't answer me. So I said, can you answer the question, please? And they say, yes, I can answer your question. However, you have not actually asked a specific question yet. You are asking if I can answer a question or not asking the question itself. Please state your question. Well, I had asked the question that they wouldn't answer it. And they just got through saying if I would ask a question, if somehow or another maybe it was an accident and got deleted and they didn't know what the question was, which I know that's false because they remember everything I've ever said to them for the last several months. They're monitoring everything I say. They already know what I said. They didn't want to answer that question. So they just disappeared everything and claimed they didn't have it. So let's say they're some fluke. Of course, this happens every time that I ask them something they don't want to answer me. They just go away. And this is their way of saying Apple or they can't tell me. Now, if you really want to know that they can't tell me, this couldn't happen twice in a row, could it? When they just said, yes, I can answer your question. Just ask the question. So I go ahead down here and I do. I said, why did you just erase our conversation about NASA and space rockets and projects and programs and operations? You deleted it when I asked. Did Donald Trump's dad, Frank Trump, have any relationship, financial or friendly, with Walt Disney regarding any collaboration or with John Trump on Tesla papers or Disney at all in any way? And again, crickets, they won't answer me. They won't answer me. Let me just try one more time to see if they'll answer me. And look at that. Please answer. They said, I'm ready to help, but you have not asked a question. Okay, so they're playing some kind of game. They won't answer. They say, oh, we didn't get a question. Well, you just saw me ask the question. I didn't delete it. They did. They delete the question right here. That's at the top of the thing. They deleted it. Now, I'm going to ask them one last thing before we end this. I have not deleted any question from you. As an AI, I don't have the ability to. They did this to me before. None of this that they're saying here has anything to do with what I asked, because they claim they don't have my question. Friends, there's something they don't want you to know about Trump and Walt Disney. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go. I hope you have a wonderful evening. The Lord will bless you all. His grace and his peace will be with you. Prepare, guys. Prepare. Something's about to happen. They've got thousands of these individuals from China buying up land around military bases. They're bringing thousands of people in. Trump's not getting rid of them. It's a plan that both of them. I mean, look, if Trump was really trying to stop these terrorists from coming into the country, which he pretends to do on the surface. They're already here. They got in through the 4 years of Biden. And they're claiming they're taking people out. Maybe they have a couple of thousand, but there were 15,000 people a month coming in with Biden. And they were military people from crazy ISIS and China, and China's buying the land around the military bases and doing reconnaissance and spying on us, and Trump hasn't done anything to stop it. So this is a orchestrated plan, guys. Get ready. Civil War is about to hit. World War III, collapse. Very bad things are going to happen. It's all a part of Project Operation MK Ultra Mind Control. And I think that they're all basically based on the project to deceive the world that there is no Jesus. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.